but you don't feel like eating anything at. Welcome back. Hey babes, how you doing? So this is episode 3. Not me being consistent. Yay me. It's good to have you back. If you're new, welcome. I am Martha or Kimberly. Anyone is fine. Here I go by Crown Kim. So I talk about things that are important to me, that I believe may be important to you because they're real topics. And hopefully, through these chats, we can learn to grow and glow together, treating each other well, treating ourselves well, and hopefully making even a small change in this very frigged up world that we live in. Yeah? So last time we talked about anxiety, whether it's real or fake. Check it out up here. And now we're going to talk about what anxiety can look like. So let's start with the mind. Anxiety could be something like someone overthinking about everything. So let's say you have something to do for work or school, like a paper is due, or you have to do a report, or you have a performance or something, and you're overthinking to the point where you either don't do it or you do it last minute. That's one form of it. It could also look like not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, right? So you're not physically tired, but you feel mentally exhausted to the point where getting out of bed, getting yourself ready for the day just seems like too much to do, so you don't do it, right? Another way it could present itself is not wanting to eat. So you just don't have an appetite. So you wake up and normally, people might have breakfast around 7, 8 in the morning, and then you have lunch a little bit later, like in the afternoon. But you don't feel like eating anything at all. And you don't, it's like you may be physically hungry, but you don't want to eat. Or it may look like you're not even hungry and you just go about the day as normal, just using the little energy that you have to just make it, to survive the day, waiting for when you get back home so you could go back into that bed, your safety zone, right? It could also look like eating too much. Some people call this stress eating, where you don't want to deal with anything or you don't know how to fix the problem, whatever you're dealing with. So you try to mask it by making yourself feel good. And as we know, food could present, what should I say? Mm, pleasure. Why did that word escape me? Food could present pleasure. Sometimes, sweet food, salty food, fried food, because it's decadent, it's tasty, it's mouth-watering. So it kind of helps you to escape from that thing that's been bothering you for days or weeks or months or years. Something could trigger you now. And because you know that this is a problem that you've had for a long time, and you figure, well, I haven't been able to fix it before. So let me just do something else to make myself feel better because everything else is not working. So then you overeat, right? How else can anxiety look? It can look like not showering, not bathing, not cleaning yourself. And it's not because you're nasty. It could just be that you don't feel you don't feel that desire to bring yourself together, to take care of your body. It's more of a matter of a lack of a desire to take care of self. It's not about being unhygienic. It's not about not wanting to present yourself well. It just feels like it's just too much. It feels like an extra step rather than a necessary step, right? And sometimes people just don't do it. You see them walking around with their face unwashed. Um, you can smell body odor on them. They don't iron their clothes. They don't take the time to dress well. They just throw on the first thing that they could find because taking the time to put together an outfit is just too much. Like I already have to leave home, which I don't want to do. I already have to go and do whatever errand or whatever work that I have to do that I also don't want to do. And now you're saying I have this added task of getting an outfit that matches or ironing. Hell no, I'm not doing all of that. So I'm just going to pull together whatever it is that I could find and just throw it on my body. At least I'm getting up, right? So for some people, it manifests like that. For other people, it could be oversleeping. So not only do you not want to get out of the bed, but it means that you could just sleep for days and days and days because you're so physically, not even physically, but mentally and emotionally gone that waking up just feels like it doesn't make any sense. Why? Because it presents more pain, more pain. And you don't want to experience that pain. You feel like every day that you wake up is just the same thing over and over again. This feeling of not wanting to do life anymore, not feeling like you can do life anymore, not feeling like you have the capacity or the strength to accomplish anything. So you just want to stay in the bed because that's the only thing that makes sense to you. It's kind of like you're shielding yourself from the inevitable problems that you will experience if you get up, right? For some people, it could be that you fold up in a ball, like in the fetal position, in the corner somewhere, in your bathtub, in the bedroom, in the closet. You just kind of you try to shield, like how a turtle goes back into its shell for protection. You kind of cover yourself in this way so as to say, I have you. The world around me doesn't have you, but I have you. And of course, the ultimate way, the crying, the screaming, the shouting, that's another way that we can see it happening. Sometimes it could be anxiety that elevated into a panic attack, or sometimes it is chronic anxiety that's manifesting itself because anxiety and stress go hand in hand. So sometimes when the brain can't take any more, it just explodes. Pressure does bust pipe, right? So you're holding it in, you're holding it in, you're holding it in, thinking, sometimes thinking that you're doing everything that you need to do to hold it together, to keep yourself together. And you keep yourself from expressing what you feel, from emoting. So you bundle up all of these feelings. And then when it gets to be too much, the waterworks come out, a big explosion. And for the people on the outside looking in, it may seem like you're going crazy. For you, it may feel like, oh my God, I cannot believe I allowed myself to get to this place where I'm screaming or shouting in such a public forum. Because sometimes it happens in the worst possible places. And for a lot of people, it feels like a release like, okay, finally, I can let out these emotions and I feel a lot better. You know, like how some people say, there's nothing like a good cry. Sometimes you need to cry, you need to feel, you need to remind yourself that it's okay to feel. So sometimes it looks like that tears. And then there are other times when it looks like a lack of desire to socialize. You just don't want to see people. You don't want to interact with people because it's too much energy. There's too much going on. So you stay inside, you keep to yourself. You may go outside, but you may go outside alone. You go to work, you go to school because you have to, not because you want to. And then you can't wait for the day to be over. So you get back into your personal space. And for some people, this could just mean I'm living a low-key life. I like my space. I want to be by myself. But for some people, it's a result of social anxiety. I cannot deal with all of these energies. And for a lot of us, depending on the job that we do, we're expected to be on all the time. You have to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and, hey, how you doing? And blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's just too much. Let's be honest. These things are draining. You're dealing with people. People have their own energies, their own problems. Sometimes you don't even you're not even able to deal with what you're experiencing, and now you have to deal with other people because we are not living by ourselves. We coexist. No man is an island. We need each other. We're social beings. But sometimes, even with the realization that we need to coexist, it's just too much, right? So these are some ways that anxiety might look. It can also look like people over drinking or drinking too much alcohol. It could look like that too. I mean, of course, that leads into another problem of alcoholism, but sometimes it starts with too much stress, anxiety from some past experience that triggers you, and you don't know how to cope, or everything else that you've tried does not work. So you end up drinking because you figure, well, at least when I drink, I forget for a while. Anxiety can also look like not being able to sleep. Some people struggle with chronic insomnia. So, all 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, we're wide awake, just can't sleep. And I've gone through this a lot, and it's happening again. In my last video, my sister said, "You need to sleep because I'm seeing the bags under your eyes." I hope I look better in this one. But if I don't, I don't. But it could look like that, where it's not even a matter of not going to bed. Sometimes you go to bed at a decent hour, but then you lay there and you roll around, you roll around, you roll around, and you just can't sleep. And this happens to a lot of people. But it is also an expression of anxiety in that the stress, or whatever it is that's going on in the mind, is preventing you from being able to relax, right? So you just cannot sleep. And then when you finally do fall asleep, sometimes a crazy dream happens and you jump out of sleep. So now you can't sleep because you're uncomfortable, right? That's another way. And the reality of it is anxiety is what happens when we live in the future or we live in the past. It's hard for a lot of people to let go of things in the past because they continue to be triggered by it, or because whatever traumatic event happened in the past was so impactful that it's difficult to just move on from, right? And then a lot of people worry about things that we really have no control over. What's going to happen? What happens if I don't do this, if I don't do that. So it's a lot of what ifs, future, and shoulda, coulda, wouldas, past. But the thing that I hope that I and people like me recognize is that the things that we allow to manifest are the things that would kill us. Granted, I'm using the word allow in a very loose way because I know that it's very difficult to tame the way we feel, simply because some of our brains are just not wired to calm the hell down, right? But I'm hoping that we're able to find ways of coping, right? And not just coping, but really thriving in spite of the way we may be wired. So I guess as to probably rewire and train the brain differently so that we can live fuller lives. Because the more we experience these anxious attacks, the more we stay as we are, continuing to feel anxious and not taking more drastic steps, I want to say, to deal with them and manage them. Manage is a better word. Is the more chances or the more likely we are to continue to suffer as a result of the anxiety. So I am not discrediting the fact that anxiety is real. Anxiety is 100% real. And I'm not discrediting the fact that it is a difficult issue to deal with. I experience it, so I will never discredit it. What I will say is that we are the only ones who know what we truly feel. And we are the only ones who are in control of the way that we feel. So we need to work harder at managing so that we don't literally lose our lives to anxiety and stress, because stress kills. Stress kills. So, like I said in my trailer to this video, to this channel, I'm advocating for you as much as I'm advocating for myself, that not only do people recognize that this is something real that we deal with, but that we can find ways of managing and living fuller, healthier lives and thriving rather than just existing, so that we don't let the things that affect us be the end of us. You know, next time we'll talk about what we can do to help ourselves. But until then, babes, from my heart to yours, love and light.